Hey, y'all, in this episode of What's Happening with Carolina Chuck, we're going to talk to the Red and Blacks coach, George Ashcraft. We're going to talk about his time as a young athlete that gave him the drive to be a winning coach. You've coached for 34 years, you said?
This is my 34th year being the head coach. I coached defense in 89, got on the board of directors in 1990. So I became the head coach in 91. In 1990, I didn't coach. I was just a board of director.
Right.
Because in high school, my kids went to Carthage. Mm-hmm. I was the Booster Club president. And my wife and I worked every event. Mm-hmm. We sold hot dogs and candy at baseball games, and they said, you'll never make no money. We ended up getting 100 people to come watch a baseball game because they could eat.
Yeah.
My first football game as a Booster Club president, they played against Watertown, Carthage did. Mm-hmm. I spent $390 on candy, and it was all gone before halftime. There was over 1,000 people at the game. I bought a popcorn machine. You couldn't make popcorn fast enough. So I learned a lesson that first game. So what I did was I'd make 2 garbage bags full of popcorn at home, go up there, turn the popcorn machine on, make 1 thing of popcorn that you could smell it everywhere.
Yeah.
People want popcorn. All you do is kept 10 bags full all the time, taking it out of the garbage bags. It was fresh. It was just made. I made it at home, though. It was the smartest thing I ever done. At that first game, I remember going to the old Acme supermarket in West Carthage. Tom Ablin was running the store. I bought every hot dog and every hot dog roll he had and everything before halftime because I was all sold out of everything.
Dang, dude.
I took in $3,000 and some dollars in our first football game, selling concessions. 15 cylinders of soda were all emptied. I went through 600 cups for hot chocolate and coffee. 2 hot chocolate, 200 cups of hot chocolate, and 400 cups of coffee we sold that night.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah. But the principal of the school took me into the teacher's lounge, and we got their coffee pots before halftime, filled them with hot water, took them out to make coffee and hot chocolate. It was pretty. We had 5 people working in the Piker's Hut, it was called back then, for the concession stands.
Dang.
And it was fun. We did that for everything, though. Basketball games, set up for wrestling matches. We set up for everything.
So you know how to sell some tickets.
Well, you had to do something. I put in the first 2 big trophy cases at the high school that were right outside of the gymnasium back in the day. Mm-hmm. They cost a couple $1,000s to build them. The glass alone for each window was $500. It was the most expensive part of it because you had to get the double pane safety glass. It was about an inch thick. I remember doing that. But we had compartments underneath them that we keep locked so we didn't have to keep toting everything around. It was fun.
So I'm going to say I watched my first red and black game this past weekend, and golly, your defense and offense, but the defense it scared me a little bit. I was like, God, they were coming through there. On
Connor Brown broke his arm.
Yeah.
He broke his left arm.
Did he?
He was a great linebacker for me for a decade.
Yeah.
Kids led the team in tackles before and stuff. He thought he just hyperextended it. Bothered him bad Sunday, and today he went to the orthopedic group. He's got a cast from his wrist up to his shoulder.
Dang.
He broke that elbow. He said something about it. In 3 weeks, he might be able to play again or something. If he does, that'd be great because he's a good kid.
Yeah.
He's really, really good.
Yeah, but I was really impressed. I mean, it looked like definitely a mismatch there for sure.
My grandson-in-law is a defensive end. He wore number 50 jersey the other night in memory of Steve Fisher, longtime red and black man, high school coach at General Brown for 45 years.
Okay.
Passed a couple years ago of cancer. And I got number 50 jersey, so the kids that went to General Brown school, anytime they want to wear it, they could wear it.
Oh, wow, cool.
And the other night, Jeremy had to wear that because his number 14 that he wears all the time. Our last home game last year, he gets held for every play. The guy tore his jersey right off it.
Oh,
right?
man.
And I never got it sewed. I forgot all about it. So the other day when I handed him his jersey, he says, I can't wear it. I said, why? And he showed me. I went, wear number 50 tonight. So you did that. But this weekend, he just got a job change because he's a state trooper.
Yep.
He became a trooper, I think, about a month ago.
That's
so he's
awesome.
going to his second phase now, and he's got to work noon till midnight instead of it being just a straight day shift.
Yeah.
He thought he was going to be able to and then play Saturday night. He's got to work 12 hours, so he can't play this week, but he'll be here next week.
So I think the first 2 years ago when I first got here, y'all went undefeated. Is that
We
correct?
went undefeated in 2022. Undefeated. It's the only undefeated season I ever had.
Okay.
I've been 8-0 and 9-0 a few times. Won right around 260 games in my career and lost 112, 114, something like that. Been very successful, and it's because of the good people around me. You know what I mean? I got a great coaching staff. When I first started, there was only 2 of us coached. First 10 years, there was only 2 of us. Well, halfway through that, once I had a defensive guy come in and work with the defensive backs. Other than that, I've only been 2 coaches. But in the 2000s, I started getting more and more people that wanted to just come in and help out.
Yeah.
Now I got a staff that, Coach Levine is right on top of the game. I'm telling you, he coached at Watertown High for years, both football and girls basketball for many years, very successful. Guys, he puts together the program.
Right.
As far as what we do offensively. Defensively, I've always had a hand in with, I've had a lot of defensive coaches come and go
Yeah.
because I've had a lot of players that play for a decade. I got people that play like Connor Brown, play for a decade. Their true leadership role, they go out, and as long as they keep their head in the game, you got a coach on the field. They know. And usually I've 20 to 25 to even 35 people come back year in and year out. So the rotation, I've always been suiting around 50 people to 60 people. And this year, 3-4 weeks ago, I only had 23 people. I didn't know if we were going to have a season.
Dang, yeah.
And in a 2-week period, I picked up 30 more people.
How'd you do that?
I made the statement a few times to the players that were coming to practice, if we don't get more people, I'm pulling the plug this year. We won't have a team. They must have believed it and
Got
the word
friend.
got out. Yeah.
So check this out. So you told me you was a college or a high school wrestler.
Yeah.
So you wrestled in high school?
165. I played football at 215, 220, and I wrestled 165.
Man, that's what I'm telling people. I mean, wrestling is a good foundation for any sport. Anything.
Human life.
Right.
It's the hardest thing you'll ever do. My brother Dennis has had a hardwood floor business for about 45 years. And the only people he hires are ex-wrestlers.
Yeah.
They'll work.
Yeah.
Pays them good money, but they show up for work every day.
Yeah, I did a little MMA a few years ago, back in 2011. That's when I gave it up. I actually broke a bone off of my shoulder, and I didn't wrestle in school, but I studied Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Then I worked with a wrestling coach, and he was a high school wrestler. And dude, he would put you through the most intense workouts there was.
When I was in high school, the 4 years I was in high school, we started practice at 20 after 2 every day. And we practiced till 5. I never took a break. I'd lose 15 pounds in a practice in water weight. And in 3 weeks, I'd go from 215, 220 to 165 in 3 weeks. I did it 4 years in a row. My father and mother get so pissed off at me. My mother would make me a cube steak or a hamburger. That's what I had every night for supper, one or the other.
That protein, yep.
Got to have it. And every morning, well, before I went to bed at night, my mother stacked 4 ice cube trays with just Kool-Aid, no sugar in it, just Kool-Aid. I put them in a quart jar. I walk around school eating ice cubes.
Dang.
I did it for 4 years. It works. Once a week, I'd grab a handful of lettuce or something to have a little vegetable type thing, or I'd grab a handful of carrots, like chomp on carrot. And it was easy.
Yeah.
I never complained. I only lost one match because one of the kids was screwing with his scales so he could leave school, because we'd always go down with the wrestling coach and make us weigh in before he'd let us leave school on a home meet. Us guys all go to the boys club and play basketball for an hour and a half, run around, and we'd be assured to make weight. This particular day, I didn't. I just sat and watched everybody. But somebody had screwed the scales. I was 6 pounds overweight and didn't know it until I went back for weigh-ins. I got back to school at about 5 to 5 before we put the mats down, because basketball was still in the gym. We have to wait for them to get out through practice about 5 after 5 before we could put the mats down. I stepped on the scales. I was 6 pounds overweight. I said to Coach Redfield, I said, I can lose it. I know I can lose it. You got to get me into the sweat room. If the sweat room was a room probably 10 foot by 12 foot, it had a couple 3 bars that run across the top of it. They used to hang the basketball uniforms in there. When they washed things, they would dry them in that room. Well, there was a set of lockers that us wrestlers that wanted to really suck weight.
Yeah.
I put on my rubber suit, take a hot shower with my rubber suit on, so I'd break my sweat before I got in there. Then you got in there, it was 135 degrees.
Yeesh.
And you're this far from the ceiling. You slid it on top of those lockers, had your head sticking out this way, so you slid your feet in so you could still breathe, because if you put your head in that way, I think you'd die.
Yeah.
But Redfield said, if you're going to do it, go try to do it. I was beating the kid 4-2 with 10 seconds left in the match that night, kid from Lowville. Their 155-pounder, Bruce Yancey, I'll never forget it, redhead. He was a tough son of a come up by the edge of the mat, and he screamed at Mike Herman, and he hollers, switch him and stack him. He's dead tired. And all I did was glanced. I said, I didn't have nothing. My arms were rubber. And that he switched, latched onto my leg, pulled me up, got 2 more. He got the reversal and 2 back points and beat me 6-4.
Dang. And you went to Watertown?
Huh?
You were from Watertown?
Carthage.
Carthage. Okay, yeah.
Born and raised in Carthage. 5 brothers, 6 sisters.
Dang.
6
sisters?
2 of my sisters have passed away.
Oh, man.
One of cancer, and the other one had COPD. The one with cancer died, she was 67. My younger sister was 57 when she died 3-4 years ago.
So when did you commit to football?
The day after I graduated from high school. I played on the red and black middle linebacker.
And how old were you?
18. I turned 18 June 5th, graduated June 26th, and June 27th was our first practice. Back in the day, you practiced 5 days a week for 2 weeks, and then you played a game. Now I practice for 2 months prior to a game.
So you so you decided to get into football for what reason?
I loved it. I played 4 years. I played as a 7th grader. There was 7th and 8th grade football. 9th grade, you could play modified. Then you played JV at 10th and 11th. A lot of juniors played JV ball, a lot of freshmen. there was, you played freshman football, but I never practiced with the freshman team.
Right.
I had to practice with the varsity because the kids at the modified, it'd be modified today as a freshman team.
They weren't ready.
I would have been in trouble. I would physically abuse them, not meaning to.
Yeah.
But then I got physically abused. But I was the captain of the varsity wrestling team as a freshman. I wrestled 177, weighed 162 at our first match. My cousin that was a senior that wrestled 4 years of varsity beat me out every wrestle-off. I wrestled him off every week for every meet. He beat me by 1 point every time. 2-1, 3-2, 4-3. And because he knew how to stall. If he tried to wrestle me, I would have beat him. But he wouldn't tie up with me. There's just certain things, when it comes to wrestling.
Yeah.
You know him. And that's how he'd beat me every time. I loved him. He was a great guy.
That's why you was a middle linebacker too.
Well, in high school ball, I played everywhere on the offensive line and defensive line. Never played center, but I played guard and tackle on the offensive line. Probably 90% of all runs were wherever I was. Because I was a pulling guard.
Yeah.
Or I'd be a tackle, and I would take a defensive end, and he wished that he wouldn't be across from me. I'd walk him down the field about 10 yards for if it was going to be a sweep or something.
Right.
Just take him out to lunch, I mean, I loved football, the contact part of it.
Yeah. And lining up, yeah.
And then when I went to Red and Black, they had there was 40, 45 of us. And they had men, that were 25 to 30 years old. They're offensive and defensive line. They were big guys, a lot bigger than I was. I weighed 190 pounds then. Smallest. I never was big when I was out of high school. So I broke my back at 86. That's when I gained weight. I weighed 212 pounds in 1986. I ran back and forth to work 4 miles from my house in Phelps Mills. I worked at St. Regis, champion in DeFeria.
Yep.
4 miles every day I ran to work. If I couldn't catch a ride home, I ran home. Every day. Every day. I'd get up every morning, do 250 push-ups, sit-ups, drink a quick cup of coffee. Even in the wintertime, I jogged to work. I didn't take a vehicle to work most of the time.
Dang.
I was in good shape. I worked in a wood yard, very physical job. But when I graduated from high school on a Sunday, drank about a quart and a half of black velvet at my graduation party. The next day I played red and black football. We went to IHC school, had to go get a physical, they said. Everybody stripped down to their underwear, and Dr. Renzi was my wife's gynecologist, was the team doctor. He laughed at everybody and said, "You're a motley looking crew, get your clothes back on and go see the coaches, get your equipment. You all pass your physical." And it was just, it was a joke.
Yeah,
but that
formality.
and he says, "I'll meet you out at the Brass Rail, which is now the Bad Apple.
Yep.
I'll meet you all down there," and I got the first rounds on me.
Nice.
And I'll tell you, that started my career. The next day we started hitting hard. First practice of football. But again, I was very physical.
Yeah.
I loved it. I played middle linebacker because Donnie Dixon was a great high school wrestler at Watertown High. Went to college. He was a great football player. Played college football and wrestled. When you do two sports in college, you've got to be great. 158-pound, I think, Division III national champ once. But he weighed about $180, played red and black football. Toughest guy on the team.
What defines a semi-pro?
You do it for the love of the game. You don't get paid.
Right.
I think that some of the teams that are really good teams, I think they do pay people under the table.
Yeah.
Because if you've been paid once, you'll never play again for free.
Right, yeah.
This is the truth. And some metropolitan teams, they got pro teams in their area that if a guy's not playing anymore and in his late 20s and he still wants to play ball. They got somebody with deep pockets. They pay him to play. They just do it.
Right.
And we've played against them. When I first started coaching in the early 90s, there was 12 to 14 teams in the Empire Football League. In 1991, I was 3-7, and in 1992, I was 3-7. But I won preseason games, so my overall record would be like 4-7. Between 91 and 92, the difference was we lost every game in 92 by 3 to 7 points. In 91, when we got beat, we'd get beat by 40, 50 points.
Golly.
And just because I got that base of people to come back 2 years in a row, those guys all played for me throughout the whole 90s. Those men, if they were playing today at the level of the game, we would never lose. If I had that crew of bodies today that played in the 90s, they were the toughest. They used to beat each other up at practice. we literally scrimmaged every night for over an hour, and they would beat each other up. Saturday night was a treat for them.
Yeah.
Fresh meat.
Yeah.
And that's just how they and I'm being serious. Wayne Dupree, who's my line coach right now, Wayne used to weigh 380 pounds. He was a great defensive tackle. It was just, and I had horses. My linebacking crews, they were all good. We had depth.
Man, that's great. I mean, dude, I really like to come out there and check out some more games for sure because it was really good.
We're home the next 2 weeks.
I'll be out there this weekend checking it out.
The football team itself, though, remember, is always it's a brotherhood that when some people say red and black for life, they really mean it. Now, there's a very good man that lives in Syracuse, New York. His name's Pat Killorn. Graduated from Watertown High, went to Syracuse and played football in the 60s. All-American, got drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was a starting center for the Steelers. He got his knees tore up.
Yeah.
He played red and black football. My first year of playing red and black in 1973, when I was an 18-year-old kid, Pat was my defensive tackle in front of me. And he said, I'll make this easy for you. If I tap my right hip, you go up that hole. If I tap my left hip, you go up that hole because I'm gonna make a hole for you that you ain't gonna have to worry about. Made the game easy.
Well, look, let's wrap this thing
Okay,
up, man.
buddy.
I appreciate you.
You betcha.
The local, hang out with me as I find out about. Hang out with me and find out about the area. Talk to local folks in the community on what's happening with Carolina. Hey y'all, hey y'all, it's Carolina Chuck. Hang out with me and talk to the local folks in the community on what's happening with Carolina Chuck. This is dumb. I don't like it. This ain't what I like. I don't know about this background. Does the background look good for TV?
Shut the heck up and go. You're recording.
All right. Hey y'all, hey y'all. All right, start over.
Hey, y'all watch what's happening with Carolina Chuck on. Y'all watch what's happening with Carolina Chuck on NBC Watertown to learn about the community and stuff. Just watch it just watch it. Duh. We gotta go get some ice cream, dog.
Hey y'all, what's happening? It's Carolina Chuck.
What's happening is we're about to go get some ice cream.
Check us out on NBC Watertown. Y'all be good.